Hello and welcome to Tonic Studios. I'm Leo. I'm here today with Alison.
Hello.
And we're back with another Tonic Tuesday where we bring you lots of tips, techniques and tutorials.
This month we're going to bring you a series on memory books.
So, memory books then. We've got a little series for you. We're going to start today with some beginner books, very simple sort of construction. We're going to have a look then over the next couple of weeks at more sort of advanced books and then different page layouts as well. So lots and lots coming your way.
Today's video is all about simple memory books. So we've got one that doesn't need a die, but the other two are giving you different options as well. We want everyone to make these memory books. Start simple and build up from there.
Exactly.
First of all, though, our Jodie Johnson is going to give you some history of memory books.
So I'm Jodie Johnson from Tonic Studios. Now I've been put on this hot seat, okay? And apparently I'm going to be asked some questions. So over to you, my lovely Cam. What are you going to ask me?
Right, we'll start off with, what are memory books?
What are memory books? Memory books are my habit, okay? There's nothing better in my life. I go into my office, I sit down and I lose time by making memory books. Now when I sit down and I start to make a book, i.e. something like this here, not only am I crafting, which let's face it is my passion, but I'm also thinking about the person that I make the book for, okay? So it's a way of not only relaxing, but losing time, crafting, my hobby, now my job, but it's my little bit of relaxation, but it's a way of storing all those memories, whether you're storing memories in there, whether you're putting pictures of your kids in there, weddings, but it's a way of recording different things. Like, can you remember when your mother said, I don't know, X, Y, and Z to you when you were 6 years old? Write it down, put it in there with a picture of your mother in there so that your kids then have got that reference, and that to me is so important.
Yeah. Next question. How did you get started making memory books?
So memory books, as I say, is my habit. They're highly addictive and is how I lose time. All started with those banana boxes that you can get from the supermarket. There was a huge banana box of photographs in my mum and dad's loft. Okay, I had no idea who those people were. Okay, so I got my dad to sit down with a bunch of post-it notes and write on the post-it notes and stick it to the photo who they were, from great-grandparents to, I had my great aunt, she was a twin. I had no idea whatsoever. But by putting those post-it notes on the back of there, then that really got me started into memory books, because rather than those photos being stuck in that banana box in my mum's loft, they're now inside books so that we can look back and have that reference.
What was the inspiration behind the memory book range?
They were a dream. They were, seriously, they were a dream. So I have a bit of a problem where I can't switch my brain off at night time. So literally I go to bed and everything is tootling through my brain, everything. And I keep a notebook at the side of the bed because I wake up many times a night, and if I've had an idea, then I write it down in this notebook. But this particular day I'd been making a memory book for my daughter Amy. She'd just been to Disneyland Paris with her boyfriend Chris, and I said I would make a memory book so they could record their first holiday together. And I'd been making that book, and I'd gone to bed and the brain was in overdrive, absolute overdrive. And you know when you're half and half, and I'm fast asleep, and I was working with a set of dies that were allowing me to make that book. But those dies, we had not manufactured those dies. But literally, I scribbled the idea down quickly on a piece of paper at the side of the bed. Got up the next morning, straight onto the phone to Mark, and he did, and he's like, Jodie, slow down. Just slow down. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Slow down. So I described to him what I actually wanted, dies that only cut on three sides, And that's when the first memory book was made. And it's been the best-selling range from Tonic Studios. It's been amazing.
What are the benefits of using our dies?
So for me, the most stressful part of making a memory book was actually making the book itself. Okay, because you had to measure pencils, rulers, all those little millimeters, and pain, they really were. But literally, I was fed up of trying to make a book, going through so much cardstock with the wrong measurements, having to throw it away, remeasure, redo. The dies do everything. It puts the score lines all in the right places. You don't need a ruler. You just need a good scoreboard and a good cutter, and your dies do everything. It gives you that perfect book every time. And then it's the fun bit. The fun bit is not making the book. The fun bit is decorating the book. And that die set allows me to be able to get the construction of the book out of the way so that I can then start to decorate on the inside, because that's when I'm thinking of the people who I'm making the book for.
That's all.
Is that all?
Yeah.
Oh, amazing. So go and grab yourself a good memory book, because they could really, really addictive. They come with health warning. Have fun.
Hello, my name's Karen, and today I'm here to show you how to make a very simple, no die cutting memory book. So what I've done is I've taken some A4 sheets of card, which I have here. I've scored them. I'll give you the score lines. I'll give you all the measurements in just a second. I've scored them and I've just glued them all in the centre of the spine there. It'll all become apparent. It really will. And you can see I've left myself enough room just for mats and layers. Oh, very shiny. And, secret, we'll come to that one later. We've just layered right the way through. So this one is 7 by 5, and I've done this to fit your standard 6 by 4 photographs. So I've cut myself a little template for my 6 by 4, so I know that they're all going to look nice on my pages. So here's my layers, and you can see there I've just left a little border showing all the way around. So how do we make it? Let's get some blank card and we'll see. So I have already scored these, just to cut down on a bit of time. But I've got my scoreboard here, so you can see my measurements at the top there. So I've scored here at 5. I've given myself, so I want to make sure I can get all of this out of an A4 sheet of card. So I've cut down to 7 inches, and then I've scored at 5, and I know I need another 5 for my back. So this is my front, this is my back, and the bit I've got left in the middle is how big I can make my spine. So I know I can only go up as far as 11.5 here. So if I do 5 inches here, I know I've got another 5 inches there, so that's going to be 10. I know I've only got 11.5 to play with, so I know my biggest layer here is going to be 1.5 inches. So that is my biggest spine. That's going to be my main one, my back piece, if you want there. And then you've got your spine. So I've scored at 5, I've scored at 6.5. I've made myself a little score line at 11.5, so I can just pop it straight in my guillotine and snip that off. So my next layer down, because we're using this nice chunky scoreboard here, I've scored at 5. So my next one down then is going to be at 6, because we've used the 6.5. So we're going to come down to 6 this time. And again, add in the 5 on for my back, so that's going to be scored at 11, ready for me to trim. And my last one, so this is only 3 big A4 sheets in this book, but it does give you a number of sides there, so we'll have a little look at it again. So you've got 5, I'm scoring at 5.5 this time, because that's my last little measurement I've got left. So adding 5 onto that means I'm scoring at 10.5. So let's get rid of this scoreboard, and we will get these folded and trimmed down. So we'll take the cards. So we'll take the first one. You can see here I've got my little score line on the end, so I'm going to line that up with my better glasses. With my real eyes on. Okay, oh, that's better. Oh, look, there's a score line there. I'm going to score that. Trim that score line off. There we go. And that's my first one ready to go. My second one is here. We're going to line that up in the guillotine. I'm just going to, I can see it there. Snip that off. And my last one is here. So this is a very simple, no die cutting involved, which was a shock for me, I can tell you. I've kept, believe it or not, I kept all of my strips right up until the end because I was using these for just little foldy over bits and things like that. So you'll be surprised. Keep them all right until you finish your book. So we'll pop that to one side and we'll fold these. So just fold along each of your score lines, making sure everything's all level. And the next one. This is so simple. It's unbelievable. You wouldn't really think you can make a memory book this quickly, but you can. I think we'd use this more as sort of a photo book or something like that. So here is the way I'm going to be gluing these. So you can see I've got my spine here. I'm going to lay that down flat. Here's my next layer. So this is the next measurement down. I'm going to put some glue on here. So I'm just going to add some glue down the spine there. Just around the edge and a little down the middle. And I'm going to line that up. Probably going to get my head in shot now, I'm afraid. Just make sure I'm central. And you can look at the sides as well to try and get these lined up as equally as you can. And just rub that down in the centre. We'll do exactly the same with this one. So here's my middle page. Obviously you can do more pages with different increments. So I mean, I've got one I can show you that I've put many more pages in. Let's have a little look. We're just gonna line that up. So check your front, check your back, get them as level as you can and press that down in the centre. Just make sure that glue takes. And there you'll see you have a quick little, no spine, no die cutting, no messing around, beginner memory book. So what we're going to do is we're just going to layer the first couple of pages here. So I've got myself some layers that I've already cut. My paper is cut to 6 3/4 by 4 3/4, which is 1/4 inch down, just 1/4 inch increment. And you can do that just on your paper trimmer, guillotine, whichever one you like to use. And then I've also cut a nice little mat to go underneath my photograph, and that is 6.5 by 4.5. And then with your 6x4 photo on top, you've got a lovely border. So let's just glue these into position. Got my measurements on the back. And I've just done these for the both sides. This is a series that we will be doing, so we will revisit this book at a later date and we'll put some more little layouts in. So this is just the simple layer. When we revisit, this will be all layered as if by magic. So I'll pop this one down as well. Just a bit of glue all the way around the outside. Just a couple of dabs in the centre to make sure that it doesn't sort of bow out too much. And that's your layer in there with some lovely fingerprints on it. And we'll do the same the other side. And this is my inside cover. So, and you just layer the front cover exactly the same. I would just leave the front with just a nice decorative piece of paper on there, I think. Let's have a little look at that one. So that will just go centrally there. So you can see the gap I've got here just for my spacing for my spine. And we'll pop some glue on this one. This is so simple to make, but just anyone can do it. I mean, you can give these to the children to do. They can put their pictures in them, what they're bringing home from school. I'm sure they'd love to see them all bound into a book. So there's that. Dry glue on that one. And then we can clean all these glue marks off just with a bit of wet wipe or a little paper towel. That is your book made. And you would just layer every single page in the same manner. So what I've also done is I've taken the same 5x7 book, but I've measured this time because my scoreboard didn't go to the right increments that I wanted. I've used the super trimmer and I've measured at 1/4 inch increments. And look how many pages I've got now. Wow. I've still left a nice big gap in the centre for any bigger embellishments that I want to put in, because that's what we will be doing a little later on. But you can see that this is perfect for a photo book because you don't really need any more room. So if you just layer in photographs on all of these pages, you can take as many as you want. You've got a nice little wider section there, but again, plenty of pages just for you to layer up and create your amazing memory books. I've also done one with centimetre increments, so I've gone even smaller this time. So my book is 18 centimetres by 12.5 centimetres if you did want to go metric, and I've scored these at half centre increments, and look at those. There's absolutely loads in there. So your half centimetre then will give you quite a small gap in between, but again, lots and lots of pages for you to decorate. Plenty there. If you do find that because you are layering here, if you do find that your pages, if you put in many pages like this, are sticking out over the edges, just take a small amount off with your guillotine just before you stick them in. But that is that. It's very simple, very quick memory book that anyone can make. I hope you've enjoyed.
So for my memory book, I've used a die set and I've used Time Spent with Friends. It's a fabulous die set, especially for new beginners. You've got lots of different shapes in there, so I'm going to make a junk journal. If you've never heard of a junk journal before, it's a set where the pages are different sizes, so some could come out a little bit more from the edge of the book, some are smaller. It's up to you how you make it. You add in little bits of tickets, photographs, everything that you want in there. It is your memory book. So this is the set. It's got 3 different shapes. So you've got one large, one medium, one small. It's got 3 different sentiments, all with backing plates. It's got a little tab that you can use for pulling in and out. It's also got a little hole spine. So you can either use this for lacing up, or you can use it for putting rings through and adding bits of ribbon to that. As the series goes on, we will be showing you lots of memory books. We've also got little reinforcers that go over the holes. That will protect your book and make it last a little bit longer. So, where did we start? This is the book that I've made. So I'm just going to open it and I'll show you how to add a ribbon closure. So I've only made 5 pages, but it's a good book to start with. So we've got a smaller page there. I've got 2 in the middle that I haven't joined. And I'm going to tell you all about that in the next series. Then we've got a smaller page, and then we've got the back spine, and we've covered that. So let's make a start. So how have we done it? Let me show you all the bits I've cut for the larger die first. So I've cut 5 of the larger shape, and that is this one. So I've butted it up to the side of an A4 sheet of card. Let me just get one and I can show you then. There we go. So I've popped it right to the very edge, and then you guarantee that they're all going to be the same length, and then cut it, because there is no cut edge on the bottom here. So if I wanted to, I could make these as long as my card is. So we could have a lot bigger, and then you would just obviously trim further down with your scissors or guillotine. So I've cut all those, they're all the same size. Then I've taken the die that will pop the holes in, and this is one sort of spine. So on the side here, you've got a little raised lip. That is going to put a deboss line. So that is going to be the part of the page that folds. So you need to make sure that that is facing into the book. So let me just show you. So there is my crease edge, and I'm going to line this up with the spine. The larger of the books takes the whole of the spine. The larger of the pages, sorry, not the books. And then you can see little notches on the side. They will fit the smaller pages. So as we go along, I will show you. Right, let me just check that. There we go. Try and get them so you've got an even measurement each side, because you're going to want to line these up. The holes are a little bit forgiving, but the more you can line them up, the better. So I'm just going to cut this through. So as I take off the die, you can see all the holes are in place. So I'm going to pop some reinforcers onto this. Yeah. Let's get my little bag. I've popped them all, I've cut them. I'm using these as decoration as well. So I've cut them in a contrasting colour. There we go. Just tip them all out. And on the black pages, I've made some black pages, some cream pages, and I've used the contrasting colour on both. So I'm going to use our fine tip nozzle just to pop a little bit around the edge. Give that a squeeze, make sure it's all working. So just 2 little bits of glue around the edge, and then pop your reinforcers on. They do give a lovely effect when they're finished. There we are. Next one. So this is what it's going to look like when you finish. So let's make a start. Now I've only put some, for the front cover and the back cover, I'm going to use 2 sheets of card glued together, but I've only put reinforcers on the one side. So we're going to pop these 2 together. You obviously want the front and the back covers to be sturdier, and that's the reason I'm popping 2 together. So let's get some glue, and we'll glue the 2 layers. So this is going to be my front. So I'm not going to pop any pockets in. I'm purely just going to glue the 2 layers together. Make sure you go around your holes so they don't come apart. and around the edges. You want to make this book as sturdy as you can. So line up. I would say line up your front edge first. You can always trim the back. There we are, that's fine. There we go. So that is my front cover done. We're going to do exactly the same now for the back cover. So I've got one with no reinforcers, one with. But I'm going to flip this because I want the reinforcers to be seen at the back, because again, they're decoration. So that's a little bit of glue all around. There we go. So pop these two together again. Watch the one you've already done. Line up at the ends. That's looking pretty good. And give it a press. So the middle one now, I am going to make, I know I said I wasn't going to tell you, but I will tell you. On a later show, we'll show you how to make a little pocket. So the only bit I'm going to glue is up to that crease line. I'm not going to put any glue around the outside yet. And then pop these two together. If you find that sometimes your holes haven't quite lined up as well as you would have liked, don't worry about it, because the lacing is quite forgiving. Then we've got single pages then in black to fit in between. So we'll pop the back cover on and we'll pop the front cover on. And now we're going to take some ribbon and we're going to lace them all together. So I've got a 3mm double-sided satin. Make sure you cut enough so you've got enough to thread through, because it is going to take a little bit of ribbon. Right, I'm going to grab my little sewing box from home, and I would say it's easier to do with a bodkin, so you need a large ended needle. Make sure it fits through the hole first. So let's have a little try. Yeah, that'll be fine. So take your ribbon, and I'm going to start in the middle because I want to tie a bow in the middle afterwards. Try not to twist your ribbon because it gives it a nicer look if it is flat. Okay, so the first one, bear with now. Line your holes up, and I'm going to count down from the top and from the bottom. So I've got 1 set, 2 set, 3 set, 1 set, 2 set, 3 set. So there's my centre hole. So I'm going to go into that one. No, I want to go down. I'm having a little think here now. We want to go down. So I've gone through the first two, second, third, and fourth. So that is all my layers. There we go. Leave a little bit because you want to tie that bow. If you can keep them all together, it is simply sewing. So I'm just going up and down. Next one. Just think of when you did cross stitch. You're doing half cross stitches. There we are, we've got a little bit of a twist in that, so we'll get rid of that. There we are. And again, last one. Oh, I've got a twist in the back as well. So check your back and your front. Make sure that they're all nice and neat. Like that one is twisted again. So just turn your ribbon until it's untwisted. Come on. If it really does not want to untwist, then I would say take it out and start again. And this one doesn't. There's always one, isn't there? Right, just unthread it, make sure you're straight, and then thread back through. There we are, we're nice and straight this time. So keep it straight again at the front. There we are. Oh, got a little knot there. Just going to turn that because I've got a little twist. Come on. There we go. That's that done. So now I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to go down the back. Again, keep it straight and go back through the end one. I say keep it straight and it turns every time. And then we're going to go back then the opposite way. So we're going down. Oh, another twist. There we go. Come up again. And then just keep going up and down until you get back to the middle. Now your last one, you're going to come up into the same hole. So now you can tie them together and tie a nice little bow. I probably could have left more on one side than I did, but that's okay. I don't really need a huge bow. And that is lacing your book together. If you wanted to put rings through, then I would just pick a couple of these to put rings through. You wouldn't need to put it through every single hole. And then just use the reinforcers as decoration. And then you can add different colour ribbons then into those rings. We'll show you some of these throughout the series. So I'm just going to trim the end off. And that is the start of our book. So my next bit, I'm going to add the ribbon to tie the book together. So I'm going to move that out of the way. I'm going to grab some tape. The reason I'm using tape today is because ribbon is not best on glue. It doesn't really like sticking to glue. So we're going to aim to be in the centre of the book. And I'm going quite a way into the book because I want it to be sturdy. Because this is going to be hidden under my cover, under my layers for the cover. So we'll take that off, pop a piece of ribbon on top. Make sure you're not coming past the layers. There we are. Doesn't matter if you're not quite straight. So we leave a piece now to tie. So I would rather leave more ribbon than not enough. So we're going to do exactly the same now on the back. So a bit more tape. And you know me, I always say to you, no tape. But there are occasions when you really do need tape, and this is one of them. So we'll pop that off. And then we'll do exactly the same on the back. And this I find secures your ribbon and makes it sturdier. Because this is something you're going to open and close a lot. You're going to want to look at the book. You're going to want your friends and family to look at the book. So pop that layer on and try and line up your ribbons in the same spot. There we go. So that is my layers done. So now we're going to pop we're going to pop some layers front and back. A little bit of noise behind me, but just ignore. Don't worry about it. So we'll have, there's a gorgeous flower there. So I've put the black. There's a little bit of dark in the pattern, so I've used the black just to contrast and to make the colours pop. There we are. So this is going to go onto the front, and I'm going to put the same then onto the back of my book. And this will cover the ribbon. What I find is if you only put a little bit of ribbon and you are pulling it to tie it, there's a chance that that will come loose. But when you've got a couple of inches hidden, then it doesn't tend to. There we are. Just keep your layers nice and even. This would be a lovely brag book as well for a wedding or for a new baby. So I've got the same now to pop onto the back. So there's my roses again. Bit of glue on here. There we are. So again, I'm watching my layers. A little tip is have a little look. Your die will always make a mark around the edge of your card. So try and keep that even going all the way around. So as long as you keep your paper within that and the same distance, then you're going to have your layers even. There we go. Another bit of glue. So there's your front and back covers, all done. So I thought I would show you how to do a little pocket as well, which is quite simple. It will go inside. I've used the layers again, so I'm going to pop those inside. I'm going to glue my layers together. And then I'm going to cut them in half. Go. So they're together nicely. Okay, so now we're going to cut a pocket. So I would say have a look at your pattern as well. So my detail on this paper, let me bring it in, is the flowers here. So I want to cut just above the middle bump. And use your guillotine. Look at your lines on your guillotine. Is that straight to that line there? Because obviously you haven't got a straight edge up here to be cutting against. But that looks about right to me. Press down. There we go. That's about right. So pop my guillotine out the way. And then we're going to stick this in. But I'm only going to stick the edges. I'm not going to stick the top. Because we want to be popping little tickets in there. So just around the edge. We can pop little messages in, photographs. There's so much we can put in these. There we are. So a nice little edge. And there's my pocket. So if I show you there, you can see you can just pop lots of little layers inside. And then I'm going to put a simple layer then onto this black. Now I've used the cream as a layer here to contrast with the black. So I would say pick two colours and then pick your paper and then alternate. So here's my paper. My layer is going to be the pattern paper this time. And I've gone, let me turn it over. I've gone with the smaller pattern because I only want to see a little bit of it. But also what you could do, you could cut the middle out to use that somewhere else. It's called gutting your paper, which always sounds horrible to me, but it does save paper. And when you've got something that's pretty, so to get this, I've gone down to the next layer in my die set. So I will show you now. I've gone down to this one. So that is my layer. And there's the middle layer. So the edges, the beautiful edges are gorgeous on these. Very stylised, I think they are. Little bit of glue around the edge. And that is ready to pop a photograph on. There we are. So you could use this on the back of your book because obviously everything is reversed on the back. So you could have a smaller pocket in the back of your book as well, just to add a few trinkets in. Never waste anything. So when you're done, do a lovely bow on the edge. And that is the start of your book. And we're going to carry on showing you lots of little tips and ideas throughout our series. I've got one little sentiment that I am going to pop on the front. And it says, life is better. So a little bit of glue on that. And that is our easy book finished. Hope you've enjoyed.
So for the memory book that I'm going to be making, I'm going to be doing a different kind of closure. I'm going to be actually using foam pads to make a spine in the book. So I've been very much inspired by this book by Christine here, and you can see where these are all joined together. We've got foam pads which give us a nice gap between all of our pages. That's going to give us lots of room for all of the different embellishments and things that we want to put inside our book. So the die set that I have gone with is our Treasured Dreams book. Now I know the other two have gone for fairly square edged books. Mine is completely different, mine is circular. So something completely different, and hopefully it's going to show you that this isn't such a difficult shape of memory book to work with. So I have used the, if I can remember, I'm pretty sure it was the medium size. Yes, it was. So I've gone for the medium size page die, which looks like this. And I have already cut two of my pages into this sheet of A4. So hopefully you can see on here, I've got them cut. And the way that I've done this is I've put my die right up to this edge of my paper. So up here. So I've got the nice long edge here, because obviously with these dies, they don't cut at this side. So you've got your page as long or as short as you need it to be, depending on the type of book that you're making. So I find by putting them on this way round, I've got that nice long piece of card at the end, so I can chop my pages down as I need to. So I'm going to use a super trimmer for this because I find it much easier. I'm first going to quickly roughly cut my two pages away from each other, just because it's a little bit easier to work with one at a time. I'm going to bring my scissors in just to snip away this excess card as well. I'm going to have to remind myself how long I've cut my pages. So I have made a couple already. I've made a start. So I've got, you can see, some that I've made already. And just so I can remember exactly where I cut these, I'm going to use one of the ones I've already done as a template. I'm pretty sure I made it 1.5 inches, but I will just check. Yes, I think I did. I used my notch 1.25 inches. Yes, I did. So there we go. Nice bit of remembering there. What I've done, if you can see on here, the die has actually added a tiny little notch. So I'm hoping you can just about see on the top and bottom of this section, and I'm going to line up with the 1 1/4 inch on the base of my trimmer. So because I've got these nice lines on the base on here, I can make sure that I've got that line going through the middle of that notch, top and bottom, so I know it's going to be straight. I've got my cutting blade on my super trimmer here, that is the blue one. I'm just going to run that straight up. So it's going to give me the length that I need for my page, but of course I need to get rid of these little bits as well. So I'm going to bring my blade down to the bottom. I'm going to line up the edge of my page here with the track on my super trimmer. Hopefully you can see that in the camera there. And I'm just going to run that just until I can feel that it has cut. Obviously I don't want to run up here and cut a straight edge into my nice round page. And then put the blade at the top and do exactly the same for the other side. So line up these two edges of my page just with the track, and then run my blade down just until I can feel that it has gone through that cardstock. And there is the first half of my page. Now for stability, I like to have two, for each page I want 2 of these pieces. Just makes it a little bit stronger. It also means if you want to, you can put a pocket between them by only gluing the edges. So it's always better if you can to use 2 pieces of cardstock. So I'm going to do exactly the same again. I'm going to line up the 1 1/4 inch lines on my trimmer with that notch in my page. Run that through there. And then just snip off the excess. Of course you can do this with a pair of scissors if you'd rather not use a trimmer, if you are worried that you're going to cut into that circle accidentally. It has happened, I've done it before myself. So you can just grab a nice long bladed pair of scissors and just do a nice straight cut instead, if that is easier for you. Okay, there we go. So there's my 2 pages, my front and back of my page, ready to go. I can put my trimmer to one side just for a second. So I'm going to glue these 2 together first of all. Nice and simple. As always, I'm using wet glue for this for a lot of reasons, but primarily because I want a little bit of wiggle room. If I, for whatever reason, don't manage to get these lined up perfectly the first time, using wet glue means that I can slightly slide them if I need to. I'm not putting a pocket in this, so I am gluing the entire thing all the way over the back. And make sure that you do go right to the edges. You don't want the edges of your pages to start peeling apart. So I find the easiest way to line up a circular page is to use those 2 notches. So either side of your page here, get those lined up first of all. And once they are lined up, the rest of your circle should then be correct. So make sure that is all nicely glued together like so. Now the last thing I need to do before my page can go into my book is add in my score line. I want my pages to fold nice and easily. I don't want them to be too stiff when they're in the book, because it's going to be really hard to try and bend them to see what's on the next side. So again, I'm going to bring back in my super trimmer. And this time I'm going to be using my grey blade. So this is my scoring blade. This is the dull one. And I'm going to want to put this in so that those little notches are right across the track this time. So you should have this line for where your blade is going to go. It should go right through the centre of those notches. And I'm just going to run that through a couple of times, just so I'm happy with that score line through there. If you want, you can flip it over and do it on the back as well, to make sure you've got a nice score line on both sides. You want these pages to fold nice and easily. Okay, pop that again to one side, and then I'm just going to fold along my score line. Bring in your paper creaser if you need to, and fold it back the other way and crease it there. So now you can see that my page is going to fold nice and easily once it's in my book. So now it comes to putting all of our pages together. Like I said, I have made a little bit of a start on this so you don't have to watch this entire process multiple times. And for this I am using our foam pads. Now because I've gone with a black cardstock, I've actually gone with black foam pads for this as well, so they are nicely hidden inside my book pages. And for this, I have found that I need just under 3 of these large foam pads to cover into my spine. So I'm going to sort of snip apart my foam pads slightly first of all, and I've got a couple more pages to go in, so I'm going to snip just down between those 3, and then again I want to make sure I want to leave a little bit of a gap around the edge. I don't want my foam pads to come over the edge, I don't want them to come too close to my score line, and I don't want them to stick out of the back either. So I want to snip probably at around about 2 3/4 of this last foam pad, like so. And then I'm going to take the top layer off. So I'm going to leave them all onto that single piece that is holding them all together. So that single strip on the back is there. I've taken the separate sheets off. I'm going to have a quick look where the rest of them are. Try and keep them lined up on the book. Make sure I'm not cutting this so you can actually see what I'm doing. Pop that down, press that into place, and then take off that backing paper, and then I can add on my next page. So again, using those notches as a good lining up point. Our foam pads are quite forgiving, so if you don't get it lined up quite right the first time, you can peel it off and go again if you need to. So there's one page. I'm going to add one more page in to my book. So again, I'm going to snip just down these pads. That number 3. I'm going to do exactly the same. So where I've got that little quarter piece of pad left, I'm going to use that as a guide for I need to snip. Peel off these 3 backing sheets, or I guess these would be the fronting sheets, wouldn't they? Not the backing sheets. Same difference. Peel those off. And then pop my pad onto my spine. Give that a good press. Peel off the backing paper. And then I'm going to pop my last page into my book. So again, just lining up that little notch, making sure then the rest of the page is nicely lined up as well. Looks good. And then press that all into place. So now I have a whole host of pages in my book all ready to go with this nice thick chunky spine, and you can see that these open really nice and easily. So I can fold this back to very easily look inside my book. But now I want to sort of decorate this bit. It's looking a little bit messy. You've got obviously some of these don't quite meet, where some of them perhaps are a little bit longer than the others. So I want to try and neaten this up. There's a couple of different ways that you can do this. You can wrap a piece of patterned paper around here and leave the edge free. So if you want to be able to see the inside of this, if you want to be able to see the foam pads, you can leave it like that. I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to take some black card. Oh, knock all the memory books over in front of me. But I'm actually going to make myself a wrap that's going to go around this section and onto the back of my book. So it's just going to sit basically around here like this and just cover the front, the back and this end of my spine. So I'm going to do a little bit of measuring with this and a little bit of pencil work just to make sure that I get it exactly the right size. So if I have a look how big this is on here, I am looking at 7.5 centimeters from top to bottom. And then I've got my little ruler here, and I don't want it to come right the way to the score line. I want to leave the score line free because obviously I want my pages to be able to bend back. So I don't want anything that's wrapping around here to go over that score line. So from this side of my score line to the end, right, so I'm going to go with 2.5 centimeters. So I'm going to put it just on this edge here. So I need to write this down somewhere. A little bit of backing paper will do. So I need it to be 7 centimeters by, and then I've got 2.5 centimeters for the front, and I'm going to repeat that on the back. So I need another 2.5 centimeters for the back, but then I also need it to come along here. So once you've got all of your pages together, measure them to make sure that you can see exactly how much space your pages are taking up. If I There you go. You can see that a bit better now. I don't have black card on black card. So you want to measure across the back of here, your spine as it were. Now this is looking like it is 1.9 centimetres. This is why it's really important that you measure this once you've stuck all your pages together, because you don't know until you've done that exactly how wide this is going to be. So 1.9. So I've got 2.5 plus 2.5, so 5 centimetres and another 1.9, so 6.9 centimetres. Okay, so let me cut myself that little piece of cardstock that I need. It's a lot of maths for a memory book day, isn't it? So go to 7 centimetres first of all. And then I'm going to cut it down to 6.9. So on the 7 centimetre side, I know that I want it to be 2.5 centimetres on the front, 2.5 centimetres on the back. So I'm going to use this side of my super trimmer this time to go to the 2.5 centimetre mark. I'm going to switch my blade actually. Since my scoring blade's at the bottom, let's do it at the bottom. There's 2.5 centimetres there. And I'm going to give myself a score line there. Flip it around and do exactly the same again. So 2.5 centimetres on there. And then that should leave me my 1.9 centimetre section across the middle. In theory, if I've added that up correctly. No guarantees, unfortunately, but we'll go with it. So let's fold and burnish on my score lines. Like so. And then in theory, this is the ultimate test now. This should sit just around the edge of my pages. And it covers that nicely on there. Okay, so I'm going to glue this into place. Now I'm not going to glue this middle section. There's nothing on here that's really going to stick to because obviously I've got just the ends of cardstock on here. So I'm only going to glue the front and the back. But again, you're going to want to make sure that you glue right up to the edges. You don't want it to lift or peel on any of those edges. So front and back. I'm going to start at the front and make sure that my score line sits nicely on the edge of my pages there, and then wrap it around the back and firm that into place. And once you've got that on, if you wanted to, you could then decorate that. So I have, for example, another piece of patterned paper here. I could go and add in a layer of this that wraps around it, and maybe that's something that I will come back to at a later date. For now, I'm just going to add myself a little bit of decoration for the cover of my book. So I've come down with my dies. I just bring those back in. With our dies, obviously we take all of the hard work out of this for you, and we've got mats and layers in here that you're going to be able to work with as well. So I've come down from the medium size page. I've then got a medium size mat or layer in here, and I've used that to cut myself this nice gold mirror cardstock. And then for my next layer down, I've actually used the next page down, which is this one. I've cut that, and I've then just using my trimmer cut right across the edge just to give myself that nice flat edge to my pattern paper. So let's get this onto my cover. Again, very important you get your glue right up to the edges. You don't want anything to lift from the front of your book. Bit of glue across the middle to hold it in place. You do have a nice decorative deboss around the edge of here, which will actually help you to position this and make sure you get a nice even border all the way around. Pop that in. Same again with my patterned paper. And probably you know by now how much we love our Mariposa Moments paper. If we have an excuse to bring that out and use it on anything, you know we're going to. So of course I brought it out for a memory book. Our favourite one being the blue butterflies. So pop that into there. So that's going to be the cover of my book. And then I'm going to quickly add some mats and layers on the inside as well. And I've gone with some different paper. I've gone with the yellow roses this time. And I've made sure that I've turned my die. Very important if you're using directional paper that you make sure that you have turned it the right way round. If you have, you know, I've got words on here. If I'd cut both of these the same way, my words would be upside down on the second page. So be careful if you are doing that. Again, a bit of glue around the edge. And across the middle. And pop that one down. And what I would then do, if I was using this die set for, say, if I was putting photographs in here, I'd obviously cut my mat down, and then I would use the next layer down again and perhaps actually cut my photograph using that so it was the same shape. If I was going to put other decorations on, you can use the further layers, but you can also mix and match your shapes if you want to. You know, if you want to add on a square or a rectangular piece onto your circles, and go for it. You know, it's your memory book. You decide what feels right for you. Just because the starting shape is round, you don't have to keep going if that is not working for the decoration that you want to put in. Okay, last one. Some glue over there. Not on me, just on the paper. And then I shall put my last gold layer in. And adding this gold, it means you're going to get, once you've cut a photograph or whatever it is that you're putting into your book down using the next layer, you're going to get that nice thin border of gold just around the edge, which I think helps to really highlight what you're putting into your book. There we go. So there's a couple of simple pages done. Obviously we are going to be adding to this as we go through this series, but that is how to do a very simple foam pad spined memory book.
So hopefully you've been inspired to try making some memory books yourselves. With any luck, we've taken some of the mystery out of these books.
Hopefully made it a little bit easier for you to get started. Thank you as always for watching. We hope you have enjoyed this, and we'll see you all again very soon.
Don't forget, tag us in your makes.
Definitely. If you start making memory books, I would love to see
Absolutely
what you make. Whether that be a simple book with no dies, or if you do have any of our die sets and you dive straight in, pop them on our Facebook group.
I can't wait.
I'd love to see some.
I can't wait.
Don't forget, if you have enjoyed this, give us a little thumbs up, make sure you subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell.
Ding!
So you'll be notified every time we post a new video. Like we have mentioned a couple of times, this is part of a series that we're going to be doing over the month of April for you, and you're not going to want to miss them. We've got lots more coming your way.
Definitely not. Happy crafting!
Bye!